Welcome to the Athena Wellness Podcast, the show that invites you to take a seat around the community fire and listen to stories that inspire. I'm your host, Kathy Robinson, author, coach, and founder of Athena Wellness, a company that's dedicated to supporting you on your journey to live more wholeheartedly. Hello, and welcome to episode 34. Thank you so much for joining me for this shortened Wellness Wednesday episode to help keep your warrior vibe high. In episode 33, I gave an overview of Dr. Martha Beck's new book, The Way of Integrity: Finding the Path to Your True Self. In that book, she explores what happens when we disconnect from our true selves in order to fit in with the expectations of others. It reminded me of the research I did when I wrote the Athena Principles on the impact of hiding what psychologist Carl Jung called the personal shadow or the disowned self. I'd like to share an exercise from that book that I developed to welcome and embrace our hidden aspects back into our lives. So I invite you to sit back, take a nice long breath to ground yourself in presence, and let's get started. According to Jung, the shadow self is made up of all the parts of us that we hide or don't want to acknowledge out of a need to belong. From his perspective, there's no wholeness without both the light and the shadow of ourselves. And the more we embrace our imperfections, the healthier we become, because the shadow loses its power under the light of examination. Poet Robert Bly characterized the shadow self more eloquently, with an image of a child putting all the unwanted parts of his shadow in an invisible bag and dragging it behind him throughout his life. A critical part of self-compassion is fully accepting ourselves, including our light and dark aspects. Here are 3 benefits when we invest the time to explore the shadow self. The first is enhanced wellness in the form of increased energy from releasing the invisible psychological weight. This energetic boost is caused by no longer needing to pull, suppress, or protect what was being carried in secret. The second is increased authenticity, as your self-understanding allows you to see yourself and others with more clarity and empathy. And lastly, deeper relationships with yourself and others as you accept and own more of your story, become more confident in the day-to-day, and feel less triggered by emotions or external events. The 10-minute journaling exercise I'm about to lead you through came about when I was lost in my own dark woods about 10 years ago. Once a week, a local restaurant would allow a half-dozen writers to use their back room to write. The room was cold and smelled of cleaning fluids as the staff wiped everything down from the day's activities. At the time, I felt I needed to get it all on the page, a purge of sorts. Each week, I went into that freezing room, pulled my long sleeves as far over my hands as possible, and began typing, using the prompt, "I am." It helped to be surrounded by others who had no idea what I was writing, but it kept me in my seat for the hour session. When time was up, I'd save the file, chat with my co-writers a bit while packing up, and let it all sit until the following week when I repeated the process, reading what I wrote the previous week and then diving back in. I always felt lighter after those sessions as I walked to the car. I felt more accepting and self-compassionate, and as time went on, began to see glimmers of possibility in the inner wilderness that's just beyond the shadow. I hope you'll give it a try. Writing practice. Dialoguing with your shadow self and inner wilderness. A simple way to get acquainted with your shadow self is through free writing, which is a technique used to bypass the inner critic and get to the underlying feelings. The only rule in free writing is to keep your hand moving. There's no need to worry about punctuation, spelling, content, or neatness. Just keep going. If you have nothing to say, you can write, "I have nothing to say," or "This is dumb," or blah, 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 over and over. Eventually, you'll get out of your own way and write what's really on your mind and in your heart. So try this. Take out your notebook or open a computer file and write "I am" at the top. Set the timer on your phone for 10 minutes and begin with the words "I am." Complete the sentence based on how you're feeling and what's on your mind. Whenever you complete a thought, write "I am" and begin again. Keep going until the timer sounds. If "I am" doesn't work for you, alternative prompts are, "If you really knew me," or "People don't often see," or "What if you knew?" You can use any prompt that feels comfortable for you. The "I am" and the alternative writing prompt exercises are a great first step to get to know your shadow self. We can feel shame for some of our darker "I ams," but naming our shadow qualities helps us take ownership of who we are, and it helps us incorporate our shadow instead of dragging it behind us as baggage. You may also find that with repeated practice, you come to a place called your inner wilderness. This is the untamed, unexpressed, unexplored territory of your soul. It's your creative side, also known as the golden shadow. Look for new interests and unexpected sparks. You can continue the dialogue with your golden shadow and find out how to best nourish, support, and listen to her. And revel in the wild, unknown territory that's limitless. Explore all that awaits within you and be open to the surprise of its mystery. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there are many ways you can spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me. Until our paths cross again, be kind to yourself and show your warrior spirit some love. If you know anyone who could benefit from today's episode, please pass it on. And many thanks for supporting the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It means a lot, and it helps others find their way to our circle. And if you'd like access to the show notes, have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode, or would like a transcript of this episode, visit www.athenawellness.com/podcast. Until next time, be well.